y'all. How are you doing? I'm great. Thank you so much for asking. It's me, Kim, and I'm back for another bed talk. I don't know. What are we going to call this? It's Kimberly Talks from Bed. All right. So I wanted to come and talk about something that I've been getting a lot of messages about. First of all, I come here and when I go through comments, sometimes I feel like, this is a comment that deserves to be explored. And recently I've been doing that and people have been commenting under the videos, you don't have to do that. You don't owe anyone an explanation. And I don't owe anyone an explanation, but this space is so that I can be honest and vulnerable and work through things. I understand that a lot of people are deeply invested in me. I think that that is an enormous privilege. Take a shot every time I use the word privilege. I get that I don't have this platform or this space or the ability to do this work if people aren't, coming here and listening intently to my words and the things that I do. I get the representation piece. I mean a lot to some people, a few people. And I do think it's a part of my responsibility to engage criticism in really good faith. So that's why I have no problem doing this. And also, coming on here and talking to y'all is not harming me. And I think it's important to not shy away from hard or potentially embarrassing conversations. Now, I do have a thought about the kind of idolatry I think that social media foments, right? Like the way that it precipitates a kind of maybe overinvestment, right? Those parasocial relationships can be damaging, but I get it because I'm deeply invested in a lot of people too. Here we go. We'll talk through my thought processes here. As a person who is trying to be a good influencer or public intellectual, I feel like there's a balancing act, right? And the balancing act is I want to do stuff that makes me feel good. I want to do stuff that is morally right and that feels right to me. I want to do stuff that allows me to embrace the wholeness of who I am, messiness and all, contradictions and all. And I also don't want to, in my public persona, in my speech or actions, be harmful. And sometimes those desires are competing. And that's where stuff gets tricky. And I feel like that's where we are with the injectable conversation. So in December, I got Botox in my underarms and filler in my nasolabial folds. And then last week, I got Botox in my forehead. Last week? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago? I don't know. I got Botox in my forehead and filler in my nasolabial fold because there was some asymmetry there. And I decided, because people were commenting, people were noticing, right? I decided that I wasn't going to lie about it because a lot of people lie, right? So instead of me coming on here and being like, oh, I'm just getting 8 hours of sleep now. I eat clean. I went vegan. I'm just drinking more water. I decided that the most ethical thing to do would be to say, I've gotten injectables, because a lot of fucking people lie. Okay. And then there was a bit of backlash. I don't even want to say backlash, but definitely some people were not feeling it. And I get it. I really get it. Like, I understand. I talk about and will continue to talk about the systems of beauty because they are so pervasive. I want to talk about how these systems control our lives, our access to resources, our ability to thrive. And I see all kinds of women in particular struggling with and against these systems of beauty to our own detriment, right? And those systems are ageist, they're fat phobic, they're anti-Black, right? You name it. And I love to talk about this stuff because I don't feel like there are enough spaces that are critically dissecting these systems of beauty from the viewpoint of somebody who is not an upper class cisgender white woman. Now, though I do like it when the upper class cis white women break it down. I love Lori Hill. I love her breakdowns of like cosmetic surgery. She's on YouTube. Y'all can watch her, right? But there's so much other stuff to explore there. And I acknowledge that these systems hurt women and cause us enormous financial and emotional distress. And I'm women, right? So when I'm talking about these things, I'm not talking from a space of somebody who sits outside of it, right? And is all knowing and has the shit figured out. Like, it's me. I've discussed extensively my body dysmorphia and the struggles that I've had with acne and featureism and texturism. And I still believe, though, that I'm at the best age. My birthday is in less than 2 weeks, and I still feel the best I've ever felt. Like 32 is the best age. And I like my body more than I've ever liked my body. I'm enjoying my body more than I've ever enjoyed my body. And I like my face. I'm starting to see little changes. And I was a little alarmed by those changes. So I decided to get injectables. In the video, the video's up on Patreon, and I uploaded it to Gumroad in case y'all want to watch it. I went through the whole decision-making process and what it was like and what my experience was. And I think that in addition to people being taken aback by the fact that I did it and I was really honest about it, I think a big issue that people took with it was I'm not ashamed of it and I don't regret it and I am happy with the outcome. I think that if I would have in that video been like, I'm so ashamed and like internalized ageism and I can't believe I did this, like I do feel like the response would have been a little bit different, but I don't feel that. So anyways, I'm not gonna rehash all of that stuff, right? I did choose it and I get why I choose it, but you know, my fundamental thesis is agency and coercion coexist. You know, we try to fool ourselves into thinking that we're making all of these choices and everything we do is of our own volition and we're strong and whatever. But I understand that that push and pull is working all the time in all of our lives, and including in my life, and it's important to be cognizant of that push and pull. And I'm not above it, and I don't expect you to be above it. And I think it's important to continue to have those conversations about the coercive nature of hierarchical beauty standards, because so many of us are gaslit into thinking that we are the problem, right? That our inability to achieve an easily consumable beauty is our fault. And I love being able to work through that stuff. And I think it's really helpful as we are navigating that stuff to go through it really clear-eyed and be like, this stuff is pulling on me and it's not my fault. So I am totally okay with living in the contradiction of saying, this is bullshit, this is ridiculous, but I'm not immune. You know what I'm saying? And I have no choice to be okay with people saying, you're a fucking hypocrite. I get it. Right? I have no choice but to be okay as a person who has decided to make my career doing this. I have to be okay with people saying, why did you do it? Like, what? But I have to say, some of the alarmism strikes me as a bit disingenuous because, okay, so this is not, the injectables thing is so not a big deal to me. I've had acne since I was 9, and I've spent thousands, me, my mom, thousands of dollars on my face. Thousands. Topical treatments, prescriptions, antibiotics, all kinds of estheticians and facials and try this new shit, right? So much money. And I guess because I've spent so much time with dermatologists, and so many dermatologists are getting into the injectable stuff, and Black dermatologists, by the way, right? The idea that this is a white woman thing is like, my dermatologists are Black though. It just seemed like not a huge deal, a logical next step, right? Of course, I researched the potential dangers and like, when do you need to stop and who do you need to go to? But I mean, I spent less time getting this done than I do getting my hair done, getting my nails done. And so I think that maybe it's just like a perspective. I just have a different perspective on it. And I also think that people are maybe not 100% aware of how pervasive injectables are among people who can afford them. When I first got I got Botox in my underarm and filler the first time, I had a little Clubhouse conversation on it because I was just interested in like who's doing this and like getting some feedback on it. And that was dozens of Black women, Black dermatologists, Black plastic surgeons talking about injectables and their experience with it. So many people have DM'd me about this, like Black women are doing it, they're just not talking about it. And I do think that candor is important. I think that we hurt each other by being silent about it. I also think that, okay, how can I say this? The kinds of physical imperfections that people are okay with you fixing versus the kind they're not is so arbitrary. It's completely about the boundaries that suit us individually as we're navigating, right? So it's like somebody on Patreon was like, after I gave birth, I felt so much better after I got a waist trainer because my belly was big and distended, but this makes me feel bad. And I'm like, well, yeah, like we are constantly negotiating how we are going to deal with pervasive beauty standards. There are beauty standards that I resist now and I will continue to resist. In that video, I talked about the nose thing, never getting a nose job. I have no desire to get any work done on my body. So it's like we're all just trying to make it out of this shit the best way that we know how. And yeah, this is a trap that I definitely fell into. But I also say, one of the things, and I feel like a little bit sometimes, is concern trolling. Okay. So a concern trolling thing that some people have said to me is danger. You're not worried about the danger. And I'm like, okay. I have, since I was 9, done so much stuff to try to deal with acne. Taken all kinds of oral medications, right? Doctors have tried to put me on accutane. I actually think that because of a round of doxycycline that I took a couple of years ago, I have acid reflux that has never gone away. Like, it's actually dangerous to be on the kinds of oral antibiotics that doctors prescribe to people for acne, like for a long time. And I've mentioned that and nobody was like, danger, right? I have made the decision that I'm never gonna go on Accutane, because I like having high functioning kidneys and a high functioning liver. Like, I like not having to deal with all of the mental health stuff that comes with Accutane. People go on Accutane all the time. Doctors prescribe Accutane to people all the time. But I don't know if we have that same danger conversation around it. And it is really because these are procedures that people don't like, right? Like, they're not comfortable. And again, I'm not trying to explore this to like say, don't come for me, come for me. I just, when I was working through this, I was just thinking, it's all just kind of like bullshit. But ultimately, the reason why I wanted to come and have this conversation is because if I feel bad about anything, I feel bad about how me talking about getting these procedures and feeling good about the outcome, how that might make somebody else feel bad about their face or their aging. Because I am trying my very best to do as little harm as possible. It's impossible to do no harm, right? But I am not malicious. I'm trying to figure out how I can be honest about my desires and my insecurities and my body and how I'm navigating that without projecting that stuff onto other people. And again, one of the reasons why I reject this idea of choice feminism and it's my choice and my choice doesn't hurt you and just let everybody do their own thing is because I understand that we live in community. And the stuff that I do as this person with this platform does affect other people. And I still am grappling with that. I still don't have a 100% strong hold on what to do with that, but I understand. And I know for sure, that we're not going to inject ourselves into liberation, right? I know for sure that these systems of ageism and colorism and fat phobia, they're not going to be dismantled by all of us individually choosing to do the stuff that makes us feel good. But I also am going to acknowledge that, I do a lot of shit that's not liberatory, right? I have no desire to frame the stuff that makes me feel good as shit that's liberatory. And I feel like I'm closer to living in a liberated body, as much as a Black woman can. But I still care about all kinds of ridiculous stuff, even as I'm stretching and growing and learning and getting more comfortable. And, I talked about this, right, in the last video, the last little live video. I have gotten to body neutrality, right? Not body positivity. I'm, neutral on my body. Sending the best news I've ever sent, okay? Having the best FaceTime sex I've ever had. Having the most honest and vulnerable conversations with my friends and family that I've ever had. Because a part of that is being comfortable in your body and being comfortable in who you are. But yeah, there's definitely still stuff that I am working through, and the visible signs of aging, because that's a new thing. Yeah, it's definitely something I'm working through. Even after all of this, right? I will still say beauty is a bad investment, because I'm still gonna age. I don't look 22. I'm never gonna look 22 again. Yes, I pissed away that money. I threw that money in the wind, right? There's not enough Botox or Juvederm in the world that's gonna stop me from being abused by an ageist society, right? People are still going to tell me at 32 that I've hit the wall, right? The structural stuff is still in place. I am just, as most of us are, right, as we understand that we will never stop being abused and coerced by these systems as long as the systems exist, I'm just trying to give myself a little bit more comfort, and that comfort is fleeting. Because even this face, I love this face, but I'm not going to have this face in 5 years. I'm not going to be saved or shielded from the culture that treats women over 20 like shit. I understand it. I get it. And I do want to underscore that there are lots of things about getting older that I love. There are so many things about getting older that I just love. But yeah, I have internalized ageism, and you might not like... Oh, not my nose running now. Come on. We almost made it. Okay. I get that you might not like the way that I'm dealing with it. I understand. I really do. I'm just being Miley, And I think a part of my commitment to being honest and open and vulnerable is just to say, I'm fucked up. I'm fucked up too. I read the books. I do. I make the videos. I write the articles. And I'm fucked up too. And that is disappointing to some people. I get it. But, I'm just trying to do the best I can. Why are people disappointed? I mean, I understand why people are disappointed. I do. I understand. I am trying to underscore in having these kinds of conversations that I'm not Kimberly looking down from up high to the plebeians. I'm a fucking plebe. Right? And so in having these conversations like this from my bed, wearing, whatever I wore to bed last night, I do hope to be able to underscore that the way that I want to engage with y'all, this community, is not from Kimberly is the all-knowing feminist theorist who is just telling you how to live your life. Kimberly is the feminist theorist and influencer and public intellectual who is every day struggling with how to live life the most ethically, right? How to navigate these oppressive systems and not completely die, And by death, I'm talking, spiritual death. Oh, somebody asked a question. What was the cost for, I almost don't want to say. I don't think I want to say it in public. I talked about it in the video. Join the Patreon, but I don't want to say. What does injections in your underarms do? They paralyze the sweat glands. So actually, somebody even told me recently that they get Botox in their forehead because they sweat a lot on their forehead. So Botox paralyzes the muscles. You can see my forehead doesn't move. And Botox in your underarms paralyzes the sweat glands so that they will not sweat as much. I have hyperhidrosis, have also had that since I was a kid, done all kinds of stuff to try to get that under control, and finally decided to try Botox. I also struggle with wanting injectables, but also never want to participate in an aesthetic which make girls like me think they need injectables. It's real. I think a lot of people don't realize the continuous maintenance involved and cost associated with that. That's the other thing, right? And this is, again, something I talked about in the video on Patreon. So I'm not going to get on too much into it. But another thing about doing the research before getting injectables of any kind is understanding that this is not once and done. That once you start doing it, you are now on what I call the treadmill. It's the injectables treadmill, and you can never get off of it. I recognize that I am now on the treadmill. Why do I not have tissue here? All right, I think that is it. I'm not seeing any new comments. You aren't a symbol. I'm not a symbol, but I take responsibility. I keep saying, take a shot every time I say responsibility. I'm not a symbol, right? And that is the reason why I'm going to be super okay being honest about my messy shit and my contradictory shit. But nobody forced me to have this career. Nobody forced me to get on the internet and make videos. Nobody forced me to talk about feminism and feminist theory. I chose that. And so there are going to be some consequences for me choosing that. And I'm going to still talk about feminism and feminist theory. And so I have to take the good with the bad. Bye.